Bitcoin emergency update. We need to pay attention to the price action of Bitcoin because what we saw in April may be happening again on a smaller time frame, but it may impact the whole market over the next 2 or 3 weeks. So we really want to be aware of this. So if you like today's content, like, subscribe, hit the bell notification. If you don't know me by now, my name is Jagir, the award-winning author of The Extraordinary New Venture Capital Opportunity, How to Invest Like a Pro. Been trading currencies for 15 years now, but now featured in the best-selling book back in 2008, High Probability Trading Strategies. But now we're focused totally on crypto. So look, Bitcoin is at a really sensitive moment right now, which could impact your entire portfolio. So we need to pay attention. So if you see my last few videos on Bitcoin, we really pegged this movement to the downside, but this was just the beginning because we need to take the macro picture into account. So if I just zoom out, we need to zoom out and really look at what is happening here from a psychological standpoint. Now, there's long-term, lots of positive things happening with Bitcoin, but short-term, there's something in particular that we need to be ultra aware of. This pattern here, this here, where the movements got smaller and smaller and smaller. Then we had this initial move to the downside, this initial move, and then this initial correction. And then the market really, it was just like jumping off a cliff. It was very deep and then corrected over to this point over here. Now, what I'm seeing in the markets right now, and if you've been following my content the last few weeks, it's almost the exact same thing. Let's actually keep it in the screenshot so you can see it. It's got this nice, powerful move to the upside. The next move, a little less, and then the final one, a little less again. And this part of the movement here, this part, it looks like it's happening all over again down here. And then we've got this initial correction coming up. So what should we anticipate next? Now look, anything can happen because we're in the game of probabilities and not certainties. But what's likely to occur, and I'm going to tell you why, is this movement to the downside. And that can impact the entire crypto markets before we go on to see all-time new highs. So now what I'm going to just do very quickly is zoom in over here. Let's just get rid of all of these. Let's get rid of these. Right, so we want to zoom in right now over here, right? So if this is a top, so what we're saying on a macro picture, again, just to take the full story into account, is what typically happens with Elliot waves. In fact, I might have it down here. Do I have it down here? Yeah, typically what we see is when you got a 5-wave sequence, you typically get an ABC correction. And I believe we're at this phase where it says 4. I believe we're at this phase of the market when it comes to Bitcoin. And this is the context that I'm looking at. So here, if this is a wave 3, which it looks like it is, we should anticipate 3 waves to the downside. This is the first wave. This was the second. And it looks like we're at the beginning of the third. One of the things that I'm taking into account when I say this is the weekly momentum. If we look in the top left-hand corner, I'm just going to make it large. We got a bearish reversal on the momentum saying that we should be sideways to down for the next 2, 3, maybe even 4 weeks to mid-October. So we really need to be aware of this. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. We just need to be ultra aware it could happen and it's highly probable. So now let's just get focused for the next few days, for the next week. What should we anticipate? Let's just get rid of that for a second. We're going to zoom right the way in. I'm going to zoom in over here and looking at this. Okay, what is this movement to the downside? Now, in my opinion, I think it's a wave 1 and we're getting a wave 2 and we're going to get a 5-wave sequence to the downside. Now, let's just pull this up here like this. This is what I'm preparing for. A wave 1. Looks like we're forming some type of wave 2. Wave 3s tend to be quite aggressive to the downside. A bit of a correction. And then a final wave 5 of a C of a 4. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to unfold like this. It's just highly probable. But what I'm then preparing for is a really aggressive 5th wave. What do I mean by that? Is if it does unfold this way, what we should anticipate thereafter is a really explosive 5th wave. And down here, potentially, it's going to be a lot of buying opportunities because if it does occur like this, We saw it happen in April. We saw it happen over here. We saw it happen over here. When this happened, everything went down. Like Chain Guardians, right? It was a project that I was invested in. Oh my Lord. If I just pull up Chain Guardians. Now it's an NFT project. It's a gaming project. But I'm bringing it up because it just, you know, when I was buying it initially, and it was healthy price, Chain Guardians. I think it's CCG or CGG. CGG, I think it is. Yeah, Chain Guardians. I just wanted to show you back in April 19th or thereabouts, what happened to the price of a strong project like Chain Guardians and then how it recovered. So it went from, where were you? Let's have a look at the dates. I remember, let's have a quick look. Let's just get up to speed. It's around here. I remember buying Chain Guardians earlier in the year. This is August. Here we go. Yeah, here. So I want to look at this data here. Chain Guardians went from April 19th. It went from around $2.20, $2.30, all the way down to 15 cents. 15 cents. And that was insane. Now this is a strong project. Okay, now it's had a bit of a recovery and got back up to, you know, $2. And now it's taking a bit more of a retracement again. But projects like this that are strong fundamentally, doing great things, are more than likely going to get a big retracement. So let's just wrap up with Bitcoin. What are we seeing here? Let's just zoom in for the immediate term, because this is so important. I want to really emphasize this point. What we said in the last video is on the next bearish reversal, which is the daily momentum down here. Well, down here. Oh, let me just get rid of that. The next daily reversal, I'm pointing at these arrows down here. I'm just going to draw a box. I want to make sure this is really, really clear. When the blue line goes below the red line in this kind of zone, it will probably coincide with the top of this wave 2. And if that's the case, then we should be prepared for at least a movement equal to this, to the downside. But my guess is it's going to be an extended wave to complete the correction. So let me just give you precise information now on this part of the market. Again, we're in the game of probabilities, not certainties, and that's important. And if you haven't already, take my free Elliot Wave and Fibonacci masterclass, because I cover this. Because Elliot Wave and Fibonacci, the psychology of the markets, applies incredibly well to crypto because it's such a young market. It applies to all markets, but incredibly precise when it comes to crypto. So let's just do this retracement. In fact, I'm going to change it to, I'm going to use bars today. I'm going to use bars today because it just gives a bit more clarity. Because there's a few ways you can look at the data. And the way I'm seeing this is actually more like this. If I can grab this down here, and we're coming towards a wave 2. This looks like to me is a nice A, B, C correction of a wave 2 in this zone. If I just change that to a micro. I'm also going to put on the waves here. I'm going to put a question mark over here because it's not been confirmed yet. But this is a very, very sensitive time for Bitcoin. So let's just do a bit of price retracements. Price, we take this high to this low. You can see that we're in the 50 to 62% range. Also, wave A and wave C often equal each other. That's the relationship. So we just measure this wave A and project it down from this wave B and just select 100%. Again, I covered this in more detail in my masterclass because it's really, really powerful information. So this is a really strong resistance zone. And we're just going to do a confirming indicator called the external retracements. And the two numbers that we want is 1.272. And just so you know, these are all psychological numbers, which Fibonacci shows that it really responds well to the psychology of buying and selling. So we've got two zones over here. We've got this zone here. And then if it passes this zone, we're likely to get to this zone here. But again, what I want you to prepare for, you know, prepare for the worst, hope for the best. You know, I often quote that is at least an equal move to the downside to around 37, 35,000, give or take. We can be quite precise with this as well, because we want to say, look, if we're wrong about this downward movement of completing the correction, what's the minimum that should occur? It's actually just a 50% correction. And that number would be, let's just get it up. So you're yeah, it's around this number here, the range of 41,000 to around 34,000. This is a zone that we want to be ultra aware of. I think it's going to go below this, but this is the minimum expectation. And how long it normally takes is this zone here. So we should be sideways to down at least until the minimum of the end of the month, 30th of September. So it's around 2 solid weeks of sideways to down action. But again, I think it's going to be overextended. Just prepare for your portfolios. If you're in a position to take some profits, take some money off the table, you might want to consider doing that in this region. And if it does go this way, again, just be prepared. You know, anything can happen. We could get a massive news announcement and it could just go to higher highs. But the probability states, especially looking at the weekly momentum being bearish, look at the top left, bearish. We want to see this. I'm going to finish on one last thing today. Let's just go to YouTube. Let's see how my Wi-Fi is responding today. Right, we're going to go to my channel. One of you, I think it was Nojan, shout out to you. You went back and you said you wanted to check out the history of my videos and you commented on my second ever video. But I want to pull this up because this is so relevant right now. We've done over 100 videos now. It was this video. So you watched this video, and what we said in this video, which was back in May 3rd, was, if we just fast forward, I'm just going to find the point. Look at this. I'm gonna make this full screen. This part here was the movement that we've recently seen, that we're comparing to, and then we had this correction. And then what we said was we are likely, and I got very precise, to see the price get to this zone. This is back in May 3rd. And then what we said, I can't remember if I drew it out, is what we said very clearly is we should expect another wave to the downside, right? Another wave to the downside. So this was back on May 3rd over here. And I think we're seeing the exact same chart pattern, but on it's like a fractal. It's like a smaller degree of the same thing. If we pull today's data back up, this is almost the exact same piece of content that we're talking about here. We're looking at the same thing when we're comparing it to this part of the market. So that last video was done literally up here. And now I'm doing today's video up here. So it doesn't mean it's going to happen. Again, probabilities, not certainties. So there you have it. Hopefully that's going to be really helpful for you. Take the action that you need to. You just have to make decisions and then live by those decisions. But in the end, let's finish on a positive. In the end, what we see happening is a really strong finish to the end of the year and maybe even into quarter 1, quarter 2 of next year. So if you like today's video, like, subscribe, hit the bell notification. I'm going to finish it there. I'll see you soon.